So, these are simple probability notes brought to you by Dunkaroos. Dunkaroos, the unofficial snack of Miss LaRosa's childhood that has since been reincarnated, and I bought and ate too many of these this weekend. Dunkaroos. These notes are going to cover probability. Probability is one of the topics that we did not get to last year in school because we shut down. Probability is something that was like the last topic that we learned if you were doing the distance learning, which not many of us did. So it's going to be really important that you guys are able to understand this information because, again, these notes, this is the 7th grade version of things. We can't teach you the 8th grade stuff until you understand the 7th grade stuff that you missed last year. So that's what these notes are going to be. So go ahead and move on to slide number 2 on either your Desmos activity or your Google Slides, whichever one your teacher gave you. And we're going to first go through some vocabulary. Probability. This is a word that you guys might have heard of before. The probability. The probability is just the chance. The chance of something happening. Like the chance of it raining, the chance of a team winning a game, the chance of you rolling a dice and it landing on the number 5, or flipping a coin and it landing on tails. The way that we calculate probability is the number of ways that something can occur over the total possible outcomes. The way that something, whatever we're looking for, can occur or happen over the total number of outcomes. The outcome is the result of an experiment. So we have to figure out how many different results we can get, and that number is going to go on the bottom. We write the probability of something happening like this. P with whatever it is on the inside of the parentheses. Probability is a long word. Us math people, we're going to work smarter, not harder. So we're going to write out probability for different things in that form, and you'll see that in our notes today. The complement is the opposite of something happening. So for example, if I want to know what is the complement of flipping heads on a coin, what's the opposite of flipping heads on a coin? Tails. So that if I'm looking for the complement of flipping heads, I would look for the probability of finding tails. So the way that we see that is the number of ways that something cannot occur. So not getting heads, my other option would be getting tails. And then again, that's out of the total possible outcomes, the possible results of an experiment. I don't quite remember what I was trying to put here in this blank. I'll come back to it. Sample space are the options of something happening. So sample spaces can be a list, like you see over here, a table, like you see here, or a tree diagram that shows all the different outcomes or things that could happen. So these different outcomes show flipping a coin 2 times. If I flip a coin 2 times, I could get heads and heads. I could get heads first, then tails. I could get tails first and then heads, or I can get tails both times. Here, this shows my coin, and I can follow this tree diagram to see I could get heads and heads if I flip my coin. Or I flip my coin, I could get heads and then tails. Or I flip my coin and I could get tails and then heads. Or I could flip my coin and I could get tails and then tails. So I see that there would be 4 different outcomes if I flip my coin 2 times. Here again, I see there are 4 different outcomes if I flip my coins. Here, heads and tails on a coin. I can get heads and heads. I can get heads and then tails. I can get tails and then heads. Or I can get tails and tails. So these are called sample spaces. You probably saw these in 5th grade because that's a 5th grade standard. Looking at probability from these sample spaces, these pictures or these lists, to help us figure out how many options there are. This information down here is called the fundamental counting principle. And it says that you can figure out how many total outcomes there are, the number of options, by multiplying the various options together. So if I flip a coin 2 times, I would want to write down how many options there are each flip. So for my first flip, I could get heads or I could get tails. So there's 2 options there. If I flip a coin a second time, again, I can get heads or tails. So there's 2 options. This fundamental counting principle tells me that if I multiply those options together, that will tell me how many total outcomes. So here, 2 times 2, because there's 2 sets of 2 options, gives me 4. So I should see 4 different options, 4 different outcomes that I can get every time I flip a coin twice. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to put in this space, but I can't remember. That's all right. So go ahead, make sure you have all this copied down onto your Desmos. Pause the video if you need to. Otherwise, let's move over to slide 3 and watch the next video.